Can I call on Lakshmi Narayanan on the stage for the first session, our inaugural session of the day. Now, while we have Lakshmi is not just because he's an IT guy, but because I think the whole definition of how we look at IT is changing. When we were in college and we started off on our careers, we always used to think IT is equal to Infosys. Well, here's one man and his organization that is giving Infosys a run for its money. Somebody who's really climbed up the rungs and hasn't really come down from the top in an industry. How much of an idea is responsible for Cognizant today actually becoming one of the key industry players, and what are the challenges that Cognizant faces? For all that more, it's over to Lakshmi.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. Feel a lot younger this morning. Listen to this type of a rock band as you come in and see all these young faces here. It's really an energizing environment. Thank you for having me here. I'll probably spend the next 10-15 minutes not talk so much about the company, Cognizant, but generally talk about the opportunities, the ideas that generate industries. Let's look at a few examples and see some of the people who are behind these ideas, what makes them tick, etc. The first one that I'm going to talk about is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but I'm sure many of you from this part of the country would be familiar with Avas, a device that has been developed by a young engineer. Avas is a very nice, small electronic gadget that is used by really challenged people, deaf and mute people, people who cannot speak, to communicate. It's a device that's used in, those of you who are familiar with schools like Vidyasagar, you will see some students using it. There are charitable organizations like United Way that procure these instruments and give it to them. The idea really was that of one individual, Ajit Narayanan, a person, a local person, finished college, studied in IIT. He said, this is interesting. I've come across so many people who are mute, have ideas. There are facilities for them to learn. They can see pictures, they can understand words, but they're not able to communicate. How can I provide them an interesting device that can be effective in their communication? So he started working on that, produced prototype version 1, 2, 3, etc. And finally, there is a workable version came about. And the real thought process that went through his mind was very fascinating. He said, just imagine the world about 150, 200 years back, when spectacles were not common, glasses were not common at all. People had visual challenges, short sight, long sight, some of them having deteriorating vision, etc., etc. And they just had to live with it. But someone invented a spectacle, and look at the change that it has made to the world. He says, can I come up with a device that is in its nascent stage now, perhaps after about 30, 40 years becomes the spectacle for the speechless. Okay, what a fantastic vision, and the way he has narrated it. And that's what he has been working on. Just a small group of about 2 or 3 people. And this idea is just not creating devices for the speechless, but the people who have seen this are looking at these type of devices, looking at technology to see how they can help physically challenged, otherwise challenged people. What kind of technology can be applied to make them a little more effective, to give them the dignity that they deserve in this world. That's the birth of a new industry generated by just 2 or 3 people. A powerful idea, a powerful comparison, and powerful energy that's driving and motivating a small group of people. Not a lot of money that has been invested, but then they are getting a lot of attention, a lot of funding now in order to make their dream a reality. One example. Another example of a person, again, here in the manufacturing area. I want to spend a lot more on non-technology, non-IT related, because the expectation normally is that there will be plenty of opportunities in the technology area, but manufacturing areas, phenomenal things. Look at our industry, the amount of money that Indian companies in the aviation sector, all the private airlines, government airlines, etc., will spend on procuring aircraft from outside is close to 1.5 trillion over the next 15 years. Huge amount. Forget about how many zeros the trillion has. Don't even bother converting it into rupees. It's a huge number. And the government says, if I'm importing so much from outside, you better procure at least 30% of the components that go into the manufacture of these aircraft from India. That's some way of balancing the trade between what we buy and what we import and what you should procure from here. 30%, $500 billion opportunity for people to manufacture and export to the aviation industry outside. Now, it's a tough industry. That's a very, very tough. It's not the ordinary manufacture. The quality levels are very, very high. The aviation industry, as you all know, is one of the safest because the technology and the tools and the products and the material that they use are simply the best in the world. Again, an individual chartered accountant, he said, this is a great opportunity. I read about all these huge things. I don't think there are many people who are working on this. Let me grab this as an opportunity and see what we can do. He spent a couple of years experimenting, talking to various people. And he said, even if we have the technology, the people, the ability to export, we do not have the credibility yet. The only credibility, the companies with the credibility are outside of India. People are already working there. So what I'm going to do is to pick 2 or 3 small and medium-sized suppliers outside of India, hopefully buy them, move the work here, and expand on that. Great idea. He said, no, I cannot build this in a very credible manner. I'll buy companies that have a track record and move them over here and expand that. That's exactly what he is doing. And it's such a great opportunity that he is excited. Initial work has done well. He has bought a company. The company is, the original owners of the company are helping him set up the infrastructure here in India. He is bidding for a $2 billion worth order. Now, he's talking to various people, putting the entire supply chain in place in order to participate in that opportunity. Now, that's another great idea. Fearlessness. He says, I have nothing to lose. This is such a big opportunity. I don't have the capability. I'm not an engineer. If people ask me how does an aircraft work, I may not be able to explain. I'm a chartered accountant. But then I have this desire, I have this aspiration, I have this energy, and I know I can partner with people and get it done. Another great story in the making. You'll hear about all these people in the next 5 to 10 years as really accomplished professionals, accomplished businessmen. Third example, and I'll stop there, is again a local boy, Janki Raman. Many of you will be familiar. It's very, very appropriate here for this group. He created Bharat Matrimony from a simple idea, bharatmatrimony.com, essentially bringing lives together. And the way he puts it is, it's very funny. I got married. I want the rest of the world to have the pleasure or pain of getting married. And so I'll go all out to make sure that there is a match that's found for every single eligible individual here. It's an idea that started when he was in the US. He was a programmer, like many of you are or would be. He was fired because of some recession in that country. He said, what am I going to do? He started with a simple program to put things together, connect people, exchange messages, and that has turned into bharatmatrimony.com, the largest matrimony site. And he also has the record for registering the highest number of URLs, domain names. He's got something like 350 so far. From Bharat Matrimony, it became Tamil Matrimony, Hindi Matrimony, Marathi Matrimony, and then it became Iyer Matrimony, Patel Matrimony, Shah Matrimony.com, etc., etc. I'm sure he would have registered a Kolaveri.com matrimony also, just to go with the thing. Another great example of an entrepreneur who just said that I don't have anything, I lost my job, I have no worldly possessions, I have absolutely nothing to lose, I'm going to try. That's the spirit with which the young generation is approaching the problems of today. These are great examples of people creating industries, creating stories, creating phenomenal companies. And as young minds, I would encourage all of you to look at that particular aspect of entrepreneurship, innovation, idea, work on it. No idea is poor. And to conclude, I'll tell you the exercise that India as a country, where are we headed? This is something that happens in the World Economic Forum every year. To cut a long story short, there were two or three scenarios that people projected. One scenario was what they called Bollyworld. India is Bollyworld. That means it's fully integrated, globally integrated with the rest of the world. But then the benefits of this integration and growth is not inclusive. It's pretty much exclusive to a few. The haves enjoy more and more. Not a great model. The second model is what they call the Atakta model. Atakta Bharat. Is stuck. We are truly stuck. Somewhat similar to the scenario that we are in today. We are not globally integrated. We don't know how to integrate. We hesitate to integrate. We are not completely inclusive, nor are we completely exclusive. We are somewhere in the middle, trying to figure out what is the best way to get there. Stuck Bharat is clearly the situation that we don't want to be in. The third Bharat, the third India that's inspiring is the Bharat where we are globally integrated along with the other companies, and it is also inclusive. There is growth across the board. This is a scenario that's called the fireflies scenario. Fireflies or individual fireflies. And the anecdote of the firefly is to that of an entrepreneur. New entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who come in, who are fearless, who take on this task of, I'm going to create something based on my dream, my idea. And there are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of such individual entrepreneurship, very much like the fireflies, that's going to glow together and create a Bharat that we can all be proud of. Thank you and all the very best for this Mind Rocks program.